The eagle has landed. The Santa has landed. The sleigh has landed. Either way, we're back with another episode of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah.
and Noah. We are so glad to be here. Starting out December with our, we're going to do kind of a Christmas series here. But before we do that, Hannah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. We just had Thanksgiving where we both
Worked.
That's right. We worked the day of Thanksgiving. We did not have Thanksgiving food, but the day before we did have a very fun day.
We did.
The band had a gig about 3 hours away at a brewery, and we had their Friendsgiving event, and we played for 3 hours plus. And people were into it, and by the end, they were going crazy. I mean, they were getting it. And
It was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was a very, very fun time. Now the band will take a break for. We'll take a break for about a month. They've got but the other two guys are in a couple of other bands, and they're kind of doing like a joint Christmas show that we originally got asked to do. But you and I are heading home to the South for a couple of weeks for Christmas.
We are.
And so we will not be here, so the band's kind of inevitably taking a break for that. But I do have a show somewhere else in the Midwest on the way home, so that's kind of fun. If for some reason you listen in the St. Louis area, show up to ABC Distillery December 14th from 4 to 7 p.m., and you will see your favorite podcast host. Probably not your favorite podcast host, but
One of them.
yeah, that's right.
Because obviously I'm the favorite.
That's right. You're their favorite podcast host. I'm chopped liver. Let me take a sip of drink here. That's good podcast content. Oh man. Well, we are recording this the day before it comes out, so we are officially in December, and by the staunchest of Grinches out there, it is officially Christmas season.
It is.
And with that comes our giveaway. We are doing a giveaway because we are so excited to announce that we have a free Patreon now that you can become a member of. And for those who become a member of our Patreon for the month of December, you get entered into a giveaway. And the first place winner will get a sticker and a bag of fresh roasted coffee roasted by yours truly. Second place will get a sticker as well, and they will get a drawing that Hannah will draw that is going to be very cool. It'll probably be Christmas themed in some way, and Hannah is a very talented artist. She draws me little drawings all the time that I use as bookmarks, and so she'll figure something out, and that will be the second place winner. And the way that you join in is we will have the link in the show notes, and join on to that Patreon right there. It's free to become a member. Doesn't cost you anything. And we will post, we were posting this to a group on Facebook. It stopped kind of getting traction, so we stopped doing it, but we're going to start posting what we call our foodie drinky reviews there. We'll probably do little bonus videos, or if we have a dumb blooper or something, like we'll put it there. Cute videos of our dog, things like that, little extra content to make it worth, making the account and joining. But yeah, so we'll do that, and you can enjoy becoming a little bit of a closer member with us. We may set up a Discord that goes through that as well, so that people that are fans of the show can chat with each other. Like we have so many fans, so
all 10 of you.
yeah, all tens of you out there. No, but really, I think this is a way that we can kind of expand the podcast a little bit, and we're very excited to do this. We will have a video that, if you're personal friends with us, we're going to post on social media talking about it. And if not, go to that link in the show notes and check it out. Check out the Patreon. It won't be that hard. I believe it's patreon.com/ALOT podcast. I believe that is what the link is. Like I said, the link will be in the show notes, the description of the show, so it'll be very easy to find, I promise. But anyway, we have got some Christmas-related content for today, right, Hannah?
We do.
Well, let's get into the meat of this episode.
Let's do it.
That's weird.
That's weird.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
Bro, that's weird. I just imagine myself with my hair combed down to where it's like covering half of my face and I'm in all black and I'm just like, bro, that's weird.
Either that or very valley girl and your hair's in pigtails and all of a sudden your hair's blonde and you're wearing a skirt and you're like, that's weird.
Well, but the last one, I'm
But
just
the
saying,
last
the
one,
last one
yeah.
definitely sounds more of a phase.
Yeah. It's not a phase.
But it is a phase.
It's not a phase. Because tonight will be the night. Anyway, we're back with That's Weird Christmas edition.
Yeah.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Hannah has scoured the internet to find some weird Christmas tradition. Not weird, just
Different. So, this article that I found is actually from different countries.
Oh,
so
there's-
it's not necessarily that it's weird. It's just different traditions. I personally find it fascinating just learning about different people's traditions because there's plenty of crazy traditions here in the United States, much less out in other countries.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I have an interesting one as well that I will I'll talk about in this as well. That I believe I teased a long time ago. Like when we were talking about Thanksgiving ones, I was like, there's one in another country for Christmas that still to this day from an ad thing back in the 70s, I think.
Wow.
So anyway, go ahead.
All right. So in Iceland, they, similar to our 12 days of Christmas, they celebrate 13.
Oh.
And each night before Christmas, Icelandic children are visited by the 13 Yule lads. After placing their shoes by the window, the little ones will head upstairs to bed. In the morning, if they're good, they'll have received candy. But if they've been naughty, they're greeted with a shoe full of rotten potatoes.
Oh.
I thought coal was bad. I think rotten potatoes are a little worse. In Finland, on Christmas morning, Finnish families traditionally eat a porridge made of rice and milk topped with cinnamon, milk or butter, and whoever finds the almond placed inside of one of the puddings wins. But it says some families cheat and hide a few almonds so that the kids don't get upset. And then at the end of the day, it is customary to warm up in a sauna together.
Warm up in a sauna
In
together?
a sauna.
All
Yep.
right.
So they're getting toasty.
I think about, and I kind of want to throw this clip in here. Do you remember the episode of The Office where Dwight got to be in charge of the Christmas stuff?
Yes.
And he comes in as Belschnickel.
Yes.
And he's like, have you been impish or admirable? And yeah.
Wasn't he walking around and smacking people?
Yeah, I want to throw the clip in. I'm going to throw it in right here. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Hold your balls forward. The Belschnickel will decide if you are impish or admirable.
Oh, it's like naughty or nice.
No, impish or admirable.
Quick question, do you just decide who gets what in the moment, or did you make a list?
I decided earlier.
Oh, nice. Did you check that list?
Of course I checked it.
But more than once, because you could have made a
I
mistake.
checked it more than once.
Okay, so you made a list, you checked it twice, and now you're going to find out who's...
Impish or admirable.
I don't think that's a real thing. I'm pretty sure they just invented that for The Office, but I did think it was pretty funny. So,
It was pretty funny.
all right. So you got some more for us here,
Yeah.
of course.
So in New Zealand, because summer falls during Christmas time for
Oh, yeah.
them, a number of their traditions center around a Barbie or grill, where families
Oh,
and
okay. I was like, a doll?
where families and friends gather for a casual cookout of fresh seafood, meat, and seasonal vegetables. Let's see here. The New Zealand Christmas tree is and I apologize ahead of time if I say this incorrectly, the Potakawa, a coastal species that blooms a bright red color in December, providing shade during the sunny days as they sing carols in both English and their native language. That's pretty.
Oh, that is pretty.
That picture is really pretty.
I was not chuckling about you. I'm also doing a little research, and I was chuckling about something I had read. I am chuckling though because you were like, "I'm sorry if I messed this up." We don't have any listeners in New Zealand, so I think we're okay.
Well, hey, just because they're not from or not in New Zealand doesn't mean that they're not necessarily from New Zealand.
That's
or
true.
That they don't
That's
know
true.
how that word is pronounced.
Well, I will say of all the countries that listen to us outside of America, the biggest percentage of our audience that comes from another country is Australia. So
they probably know
they
how that word is
probably know
said.
how that's said. So yeah, that makes sense because I actually just looked at it because out of curiosity. Good call. No, you should always apologize if you like if you're trying to say something and you don't. I'm rambling. Go ahead.
In
sorry.
Denmark, before Christianity came to the Danes, Christmas Day was a celebration of brighter days, as it occurred just before the winter solstice. Today, homes are decorated with superstitious characters called Nisser, who are believed to provide protection. And on the evening of December 24th, Danish families place their Christmas tree in the middle of the room and dance around it while singing carols. That sounds fun. I would dance around a tree and sing Christmas carols. Norway. In Norway, the Christmas season begins on December 3rd. Filling up local bars and restaurants throughout the month, families celebrate Little Christmas on December 23rd, having their own ritual for the day that may include decorating the tree, making a gingerbread house, and eating hot rice pudding. And they do have the traditional word for that, and I am not even going to begin to try to say that.
Let me see it. Oh Lord!
It has some characters that I'm not even familiar with. So.
Making a gingerbread house and eating risengrynsgrot. Risengrynsgrot.
Sure.
Risengrynsgrot. Scrot.
I think you better be careful. You're going to end up saying something you don't
It sounds
mean to.
like I'm saying scrot. Anyway, have you heard of Ukraine's legend of the Christmas spider?
I have not.
So forget angels on your Christmas tree. In Ukraine, it's spider webs.
No.
When it comes to Christmas traditions around the world, everybody does it differently, of course. Folklore goes that a poor widow and her children watched a pine tree grow outside their home and turn it into a Christmas tree, but they couldn't afford to decorate it. The children went to bed sad, and the widow hung fruit and nuts on the tree that night in the hope that it'd make them smile on Christmas Day. Spiders in the hut but next door observed all this and set to work overnight, weaving reams of silky gold webs, silvery, silvery, and gold webs around the tree for the family to find the next morning. They were, of course, all dazzled and delighted. Therefore, Ukrainian families celebrate by hanging their tree with a spider's web. They're thought to bring good fortune. Just remember that the next time you brush the cobwebs away.
No. Just no. Ireland. The Irish leave a tall red candle in a front window overnight, a welcoming symbol of warmth and shelter for the holiday season. Traditional Christmas fare in Ireland often includes homemade roast goose, vegetables, cranberries, and potatoes. Have you ever had goose?
No.
I haven't either. I wonder how similar or dissimilar it is to turkey or duck.
Duck.
You think it's closer to duck?
It's probably close to duck.
Okay.
Iceland has a scary Christmas myth about a Yule cat.
Oh.
So apparently there's a terrifying Christmas cat who prowls the snow, then eats alive anyone who's not got the appropriate clothing to handle the harsh winter weather. In Iceland, families celebrate this by coming together to protect one another and ensure that nobody gets taken by the Christmas cat, a.k.a. the Yule cat. It's meant to scare children into good behavior, but frankly, we're just as freaked out as adults. I wonder if I can find the story of the Yule cat. How about you give us a tradition? I'm going to try to find the Yule cat story.
Okay. This sounds delicious. In Barbados, a Christmas table is is not complete without a baked ham decorated with pineapple and sorrel glazes, a rum cake, and jug, a dish inspired by the Scottish influence on the island, combining pigeon peas, guinea corn flour, herbs, and salt meat. That ham sounds so good.
It does sound very yummy.
In Poland, on Christmas Eve, many families share opletek, an unleavened religious wafer, each person breaking off a piece as they wish each other Merry Christmas. Dinner may not begin until the first star appears in the night sky, and traditionally an extra setting is left at the table should someone show up uninvited.
That's sweet.
Isn't it?
I'm going to save this Yule Cat story, and at the end, there is a full, pretty long story of the Yule Cat.
Wow.
So
Okay.
At the end, stay to the end if you want to hear a spooky Christmas-related story, Icelandic folklore story. What a teaser. But
Nice.
it's pretty creepy. So anyway, let's keep talking. Sorry.
All right. So, in the Netherlands, the Dutch name for St. Nicholas is Sinterklaas.
Sinterklaas.
The man recognized by children by his long white beard, red cape, and red mitre.
Red cape.
That's what it says.
Dang, Santa's got a cape in...
Santa's got a cape.
Where is it?
The Netherlands.
Oh, the Netherlands.
Kids put a shoe by the chimney or back door and wake up on Christmas morning to find treats like gingerbread men, marzipan, and chocolate letters inside. I wouldn't want marzipan in... Are you okay?
I tickled myself, that's all. Though I said the Netherlands in not even close to a Dutch accent and was just like, oh, the Netherlands. And it said it not even close. And so I tickled myself because it was just so far off.
Have you tried marzipan?
I haven't. I've seen it every Christmas time. It doesn't look good to me.
It's
So
not.
It's not. Well,
It's not.
I'm sure there's someone who's going to be offended by that.
In this
here.
very American Southern
Let me-
tongue, it is not tasty.
Here, let me text a very loyal fan of the podcast.
Oh, are
and-
you going to text Ryan?
Yep. Well, I wasn't going to use his name, but
Shout
let's
out.
see.
Portugal and Brazil. Brazilian and Portuguese families come together on Christmas Eve to eat dinner as late as 10 p.m. Nah, fam.
10
Then at
p.m.
Yeah. Then
That's
at
midnight
exactly-
snack time.
Well, at exactly midnight, they exchange gifts, toast, and wish each other a Merry Christmas. Midnight Mass, Missa do Galo, Rooster Mass, is a chance to meet up
Caw-caw.
with neighbors and
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
an extended family to wish them well for the holiday season. This service is often followed by fireworks in the town square. The fireworks sound cool, but not the staying up so late. That sounds awful. And then in Austria, Alpine countries like Austria have a legend that a devil-like creature called Krampus.
Oh, Krampus.
Yeah.
I know Krampus.
Joins their St. Nicholas festivities on December 6th.
Do you want to do? We could do a little bonus episode where we read some scary Krampus / like spooky stories. Just a little short one for people.
Sure.
And we'll let. Okay, that's what we'll do. Okay, guys, listen up.
Because you can put it on the Patreon.
If you've do what?
Because we can put it on the Patreon.
Yeah. So if you've made it to the middle of this episode, good job, because there's a little teaser for you. We are going to have some bonus episodes that will release on the Patreon, little short ones. One will be scary stories for Christmas time, related to Christmas folklore. The other will come out on Christmas Day, and that one will be one that we release normally, but it will be we will do a reading of the Christmas story from Scripture for people as well. So, yeah, I might do some like music related videos here and there on the Patreon as well. So tease that. Also, I guess I should tease the I guess I'm pitching stuff in the middle of the episode. I'll say it at the end too, but The album was finalized and has been submitted, and it's supposed to come out December 9th, so hopefully everything works out for it to come out December 9th. Look up O'Brien, O''Bryan, and the album name is Grace in the Quiet, and it's 8 either hymns/Christmas songs, and one of them is a poem by me and a song by me. So I guess 6 Christmas songs or / hymns, and one song written by me, one poem written by me. So Grace in the Quiet, let's keep going. I have one for you. The Swedes have a giant Yule goat.
Oh, hey, hang on. I didn't
Oh, you were
finish.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. My brain rabbit trail.
You're fine. So with them celebrating with Krampus,
Yeah.
children are asked for a list of their good deeds and their bad deeds.
Ooh.
So they got to write it all down. Good children are rewarded with sweets, apples, and nuts, and bad children worry what Krampus might bring them on Christmas morning. And that's all that they put in there.
They have horror games that are Krampus, like
Yeah.
keep away from Krampus horror games.
Pretty sure there was a Supernatural episode about Krampus,
Is there?
too.
We should see if we can find a Krampus horror game. We could do a video.
Of you playing and me watching.
of me playing, yeah, and you watching, and give that to the people as well. Maybe I'm not gonna say that one's for sure happening, but we'll see.
Depends on what we can find.
Yeah, we'll see. But that would be fun too. A couple of like our Mario Party podcast type of thing for people on the Patreon. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do, but we want to give you extra content if you become a member of it. And as of right now, of course, it's free. If we were to charge anything, we would not charge any kind of, like if we had an upgrade, it would be like upgrade for $5 a month or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
We're not on here trying to get rich from
No,
this.
no.
Not even remotely.
no, the only thing that if we got, just like if we get any kind of sponsorships, it'll go straight back into the podcast. That's what it's going to do. It's for us to be able to fund this, because it's not free to do all this stuff, especially like video formats and stuff like that. It's not free. It's a lot. It's easier whenever we just audio, but when we do video and when we have guests on and things like that, it's and time, and so going right back into the podcast for equipment and stuff. We've definitely put money into this, so if we decide to do some kind of like you want to upgrade type of thing, it won't be. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to fund the podcast, if anything, and to come off as a legitimate establishment, because that's what we are. We try to bring you quality content every week. But enough about that. My brain is rabbit trailing right now. But I have one for you.
All right, let's do it.
The Swedes have a giant Yule goat.
A goat?
Yes. It's the Christmas tradition of the famed Yule goat. Legend has it that Santa would ride the Yule goat instead of his sleigh to help deliver presents. Some even regard the Yule goat as an invisible spirit who would appear right before Christmas to make sure all the festive prep was done right. Nowadays, the goat is most commonly depicted as a little Christmas ornament made of straw tied with a red ribbon. However, in the town of Gaval, Sweden, a gigantic straw goat statue gets erected every year in the square about a month before Christmas, and then it gets burned down every year. So far, that's been happening for 35 years.
I wonder if that's
And-
something that the whole community comes together to watch it get burned down.
Nope. The townspeople kind of take on this Christmas tradition. Part of their thing is they see how long it will last before people burn it down.
Oh.
It's been burned down 35 times. So,
I wonder how long it takes them to put it together. That sounds like a lot of work.
kind of reminds me of the corn portrait in South Dakota.
The Corn Palace?
Yeah.
That stays up, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they change it. It's not just like
Yeah.
it's changed every year, I think around the late fall type of situation.
In South Africa, while the traditions around South Africa vary by region and culture, most families come together for a cookout called
Nice.
Braying on the holiday. It's Braing. So braying. I don't know.
Brang.
Marinated steaks.
Australia?
And South Africa.
South Africa.
Oh Lord.
It's braying. It's braying.
You're gonna offend somebody.
No, I'm trying to. I'm not making. I'm trying to do their accent. Like, and everybody I've heard from South Africa kind of sounds like this. Like
no
South
one
Afri-
I've met from South Africa kind of sounds like that.
Have you ever watched Invictus?
No.
Oh, well, no. I feel like there's South Africans who kind of sound well because of the whole colonization from like. Anyway, I'm not trying to offend anyone.
Are you done?
Okay. Yes.
Marinated steaks and Boerewors sausages.
Boer, like BOAR.
Boerewors.
I'm gonna Google that
Served
right now.
as the main course, followed by a customary dessert of malva pudding, served with a custard. Traditional fir Christmas trees are decorated with a variety of baubles, included hand-beaded African ornaments. I bet that is absolutely gorgeous.
I bet so. Boerewors is typically made from coarsely ground beef, but also can include minced pork, lamb, or wild game. The sausage is seasoned with a combination of spices such as coriander, nutmeg, cloves, allspice, and black pepper.
So I know you shared about the Ukraine with the spider webs.
Yeah.
Orthodox Christians make up nearly 49% of Ukraine's population. They observe Christmas Day on January 7th by dressing in traditional garments and walking through town singing carols. A dish called kutya, made of cooked wheat mixed with honey, ground poppy seeds, and sometimes nuts, is a popular Christmas Eve treat. Some families will throw a spoonful of it at the ceiling. If it sticks, there will be a good harvest in the new year.
Huh. I would hate to clean that up.
Right?
Russians go wild during Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as far as Christmas traditions go around the world, Russia has plenty, from swapping Santa Claus for Father Frost to a meatless Christmas Eve feast. But people say that none more fascinating than the country's celebration of Christmastide, hailed as the most unholy time of year. Sviatki, as the Russians calls it, runs from the Orthodox Christmas Eve on the 7th of January to the Epiphany on the 19th of January. It's a pagan tradition involving feasting, Russian Christmas music, fortune-telling, theater, local pranks, and diving into the country's freezing lakes and rivers.
Oh, so also hyperthermia.
Yeah. Now, Epiphany, I feel like... Well, you keep going. I'm gonna look something up.
Mexico. All across Mexico, members of the church put on pastorelas, or shepherd's plays, to retell the Christmas story. The Mexican Christmas season begins early in December with a religious march that reenacts the journey of Mary and Joseph. The vibrant red poinsettia flowers are also used in holiday arrangements for decoration throughout the country.
I like a poinsettia.
Yeah, me too.
Epiphany is the 12th day after the 12th night after Christmas, and it is yes, it's 12th night. That 12th night is what it's called, and it does start like the Epiphany season, which is the lead up to Easter, but that's also the first day that you can eat king cake. And it's usually when people start selling king cake and stuff.
See, I didn't know what in the world you were talking about.
Yeah.
In Switzerland, Swiss families make their own advent calendars for the holiday season.
Oh, fun.
These calendars are either given to the children as a surprise or made together as a fun activity. Each day's bag reveals a new surprise or treat, with the biggest gift being given on Christmas Eve. They've got a little like example picture.
Oh, little baggies.
Yeah,
They're like
it's
little
cute.
clothespin bag. That's cute. That is cute. In Australia, they surf on Christmas Day.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I can't surf, but that sounds fun.
That, of course, it's summer there, so
Yeah.
Christmas traditions in Australia play out across a backdrop of sunshine and barbecues. You'll 100% find more people wearing bikinis and swimwear on Christmas than your typical, sweaters and things like that. You'll spot surfers catching the swell while wearing Santa hats. And actually, in fact, in 2015, a group of Australian locals broke the world record for the largest Santa surf lesson. 320 locals, all dressed in Santa outfits, gathered on the infamous beach and raised thousands of dollars for surfing and mental health charity One Wave.
That's so cool.
Isn't it? That's really cool.
As much as I'm like such a traditionalist for Christmas,
Yeah.
I would love to celebrate Christmas one year in a country where it is balmy
Yeah.
and warm,
Oh, yeah.
and I can dress however I want to.
Well, let me tell you right now, you don't have to travel far.
Well, yes,
go-
Louisiana.
Go to Louisiana.
But you know what I mean? Like, I want to on a beach somewhere one day. That would be so much
You
fun.
want your toes in the water,
My butt in the sand.
butt in the sand.
Yeah.
And say it's 5:00 somewhere.
So in El Salvador,
Unalcoholically, of course.
they toast Christmas with fireworks displays
Oh.
on December 24th and 25th. Children celebrate with smaller firecrackers called little volcanoes and little stars, while those who are a little older tend to prefer the larger varieties and Roman candles.
So,
fireworks.
yeah, I have one for you.
Okay.
It is very, very common to have KFC for Christmas in Japan.
Yep.
The fried chicken party bucket went national so the first, let me set the scene for you. So, I believe it's 1970. Yes. So, Takashi Okawara, the enterprising manager of the first KFC in Japan, opened in Nagoya in November of 1970. The company line is that Okawara had a dream about selling a party bucket full of chicken and started a one-store campaign to boost sales. Reason he started was he allegedly overheard an expat saying that they missed eating turkey for Christmas and that chicken was the next best option during the festival season. So, whatever the case may be, Okawara's venture came to set the tone for Christmas in Japan for decades to come, especially after the winter of 1974, where they had a bucket with the slogan, and it's a bunch of Japanese characters, but it translates to Kentucky is Christmas. And that cemented the connection between fried chicken and Christmas in the minds of many Japanese people. The lack of Christian traditions associated with Christmas in Japan, and perhaps Colonel Sanders bearing a striking resemblance to Mr. Claus, especially when given a Santa hat and a red clothing makeover, meant that the birthing of a new custom was rather easy. So apparently, a third of KFC's yearly sales in Japan comes from the Christmas season.
Wow.
And
I bet their KFC chicken is a whole lot better than ours, because I know KFC chicken in Trinidad is 100 times better than ours.
And so the menu is a standard party box with 8 pieces of chicken, a shrimp gratin, and a chocolate cake, which is 4,580 yen when booked in advance. Let's see what the yen to dollar.
What did you say? A shrimp what?
Gratin.
What's that?
Yeah, a shrimp gratin is like shrimp au gratin. So it's like,
So it's cheesy?
yeah, it's like a cheesy shrimp thing. I don't really know how to describe it. I've not had it before. I've just seen it before. But the yen to dollar. So if it's, and this article is not a brand new article. This article is from 2023, so it's pretty new. But 4,580 yen is $30.59. So they get 8 pieces of chicken, the order of shrimp gratin, and a chocolate cake. So it's not bad. It's
I can't. We haven't had a bucket of chicken from KFC in so long that I wouldn't even know what the
let's
going price is.
let's just see that average price of 8-piece bucket at KFC. Looks like, well, they have $10 Tuesdays apparently. That's a bucket of drums and thighs. I don't know. It varies. Every state it's different, of course.
Yeah.
Looks like $19.99 sometimes.
But then that also doesn't include the shrimp or the chocolate cake.
Yeah, right. I it's not too bad of a price. It's not cheap, but it's not terrible. But anyway, it makes things a lot easier for people, of course.
Yeah.
And they have special ads every year, and I'm trying to find the ad so I can throw in a little clip right here for a second. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can find a clip. If I can, I'm going to put it right here.
Kentucky Christmas.
So, Kentucky Christmas, or Kentucky is Christmas. Either way, you know how I originally learned about that?
How?
A GMM episode, a Rhett and Link Good
Of
Mythical
course.
Mornington episode. It got brought up, and I have held, like I do, I have held on to that fact since then.
You're good at that.
I am, yeah.
So in Norway, Norwegians believe that Christmas Eve coincides with the arrival of evil spirits and witches. It's only logical then that Norwegian households hide all of their brooms before they go to bed. After all, nothing spoils Christmas quicker than finding your broom broken into pieces at the foot of a tree, trashed by some joyriding witch.
Bagpipe playing shepherds perform in the squares of Italy.
Ah,
So,
that actually sounds really cool.
yeah, in southern Italy and Rome in particular, you'll find shepherds playing the bagpipes, usually performing in pairs. These legends break out the tunes in squares and piazzas across the regions, all while everyone goes about their festive business. Dressed in traditional sheepskins and wool cloaks, they do this in honor of the traditional shepherds in the Nativity. Talking of tunes, visitors will also be able to hear the church bells ringing out on Christmas Eve across the country to mark Jesus' birth. Buon Natale.
That's cool. In Venezuela, in the week leading up to Christmas, they attend a daily church service, which is an early morning mass. And in the capital, it is customary to travel to that church service on roller skates. Indeed, it is so widespread, that practice is, that many roads in the capital are closed until 8 a.m. to provide Christmas worshipers with a safe passage.
Interesting. In France, they have a lot of, like, a wide range of Christmas traditions, but the one that is very big, like they go big for Christmas Eve specifically. The evening begins with midnight mass, or le messe de minute, the minuit. Anyway, the country isn't too religious anymore, but at Christmas the tradition lives on. It's where families gather together in the country's stunning cathedrals to sing traditional French Christmas songs and carols. Of course, all this singing really works up an appetite, which is why you'll find many locals hurrying home to celebrate La Réveillon. Afterwards, a big feast held during the early hours of Christmas Day. Menus vary, but think chestnut-stuffed turkey, goose, oysters, and even foie gras and caviar for a super special meal.
In Catalonia, Spain, there is a bizarre tradition of the defecating log.
Yo, what? Oh, I've heard about this.
Locals in Catalonia create a character out of a log, drawing a face on it, giving it a hat, and they spend a fortnight feeding it fruit, nuts, and sweets. On Christmas Eve, the entire family beats the log with sticks and sings a traditional song that translates to, "If you don't crap well, I'll beat you with a stick," until the log excretes all of its treats. It's hard to comprehend why this tradition hasn't caught on elsewhere. They also decorate their nativity scenes with small, pooping ceramic figurines, usually well known, often drawn from that year's New Year's. The figurines also will have their pants around their ankles.
I have found the song, and I'm going to put it in here. And they're not going to understand the words, but they'll know your rough translation of it. So here it is for you, folks. And that was all while they were spanking some kind of like...
They were spanking their log
figurine.
figurine.
Yeah, their log figurine that had a smiley face on it. It was weird. Not weird. Not weird.
Different.
It was different. Poop log. That's what that was.
In Guatemala, cleanliness is next to godliness. Locals believe that the devil and other evil spirits live in the dark, dirty corners of your home. Therefore, they spend the week before Christmas sweeping up, collecting rubbish, and then piling everything in a huge heap outside. Finally, an effigy of the devil is placed on top, and the whole thing is set on fire.
Jeez.
It's called La Quema del Diablo, or the burning of the devil. The idea for Guatemalans is to burn all of the bad from the previous year and to start a new year from out of the ashes.
Santa has a sinister sidekick in Switzerland. A traditional Swiss Christmas involves not one but two unusual characters in place of Santa Claus. The first is Samichlaus, who pops up around the 6th of December and shares treats like mandarins, cookies, and, of course, Swiss Christmas chocolate. So far, normal. The second, though, is his pretty scary helper named Schmutzili. Schmutzili. And here's where it gets weird. Schmutzili is basically anti-Santa. He wears a black robe, has a dark beard, and originally his ominous appearance, complete with a whip and empty present sack, served to deter children from being naughty throughout the year. But if that's not enough, I don't know what is. But nowadays he helps Samichlaus hand out treats and presents at markets and events. So be sure to say, oh, I'm about to mess this up. Froelich Weihnachten. Froelich Weihnachten or Joyeux Noel. I know that one. Depending on what part of Switzerland you're visiting. And the picture it's something. They got a picture here. It's
A little terrifying.
Yeah.
So in Portugal, during Cansada, the traditional Christmas feast in Portugal, families sometimes set extra places at the dining room table for deceased relatives. It's thought that the process will ensure good fortunes for the household, and in some areas, crumbs are left on the hearth, and you thought, in some areas, crumbs are left on the hearth as well, and you thought feeding all of your living relatives was hard enough.
Have you heard of the Night of the Radishes in Mexico?
I have not.
So, let me pull this up here. The Night of the Radishes in Mexico is a celebration in Oaxaca, Mexico, is a celebration of oversized radishes, which they carve into very intricate displays, and the annual Christmas market event began in 1897 when vendors carved radishes with detailed designs to attract customers, and a contest was held to honor the most creative figures, and it lasts till today. And they're pretty I'm looking at a picture of them. They're pretty impressive, honestly, like just for a carved radish.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So in Italy, Santa's little helper is an old witch. Unable to conclusively prove the existence of Santa, the Vatican decided to throw its weight behind something they had countless dealings with, an old witch called La Befana, who delivers presents to kids in Italy. The story goes that the three wise men invited the witch to accompany them to see baby Jesus, but she told them that she was too busy and the legend was born.
Wow. Have you heard of this tradition in Wales, the Grey Mare?
Maybe.
It's called Mary Lwyd, which is Marilwyd. So I'm guessing there, but it translates to gray mare and involves carting a horse, either a horse figure using a skull or someone dressed as one, door to door, accompanied by a group of townspeople. And while its exact origin is unknown and it's more of a winter pastime than specifically Christmas, it dates back hundreds of years. It kicks off with traditional Welsh songs and a petition to enter the home for more music and merriment. And the ritual can also include a rhyming contest between the troop and the home's residents, satirical back and forth, not unlike a modern-day rap battle.
Huh. No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
For some reason, that sounded familiar, but nope.
Pretty interesting.
So on Christmas Eve, unmarried Czech women stand with their back to the door and toss one of their shoes over their shoulder.
Huh.
If it lands with the toe facing the door, it means that they'll be married within the year. If it lands with the heel facing the door, then they're in for another year of being single.
What a weird one.
Right? Or different.
Different.
different
That's
one.
right. It's a different one, not a weird one.
We are not saying that some countries are weird.
Now,
That's not what we're saying.
Now, did you know it used to be illegal to celebrate Christmas?
What?
Let me pull it up here. So celebrating Christmas used to be illegal from 1659 to 1681. No, goodhousekeeping.com. I don't want to log in. From 1659 to 1681, anyone caught making merry in the colonies would face a fine for celebrating. The Massachusetts Bay Colony created the penalty for keeping Christmas. It was thought that such festivals as were superstitiously kept in other countries and were a, quote, great dishonor of God and offense of others, and the penalty for breaking the law was 5 shillings. By the Revolutionary War, the day had so little significance that Congress even held their first session on December 25th, 1789, and Christmas wasn't proclaimed a federal holiday for almost another century, proving that the Grinch's attitude towards the holiday was alive and well long before he was.
Wow.
Yeah. You got maybe one more for us, 2 more for us, and then I can read that creepy story for people.
I don't, but we could talk about some weird Christmas songs that have gotten really
weird
popular.
Christmas songs. Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, this is a perfect transition right here. Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song.
I did know that.
Turns out we first started dashing through the snow for an entirely different holiday. James Lord Pierpont wrote the song called One Horse Open Sleigh for his church's Thanksgiving concert in the mid-19th century. And then in 1857, the song was re-released under the title we all know and love and is now and still one of the most popular Christmas songs of all time.
Nice.
So that's an interesting one there for you.
So I'm sure you know the song All I Want for Christmas Is My 2 Front Teeth.
Yes.
That is all the way from, if this is to be believed, 1948.
Okay.
Then you've got Dominic the Donkey.
Yes.
The Italian Christmas donkey.
Yes.
Of course, Grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
Yeah. Another one, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
I love that song.
I know you do.
There's the Redneck 12 Days of Christmas.
Yes. Are you familiar with I'm going to spend my Christmas with a Dalek?
No.
It is by the Go-Go's, and it is for all the Doctor Who fans
I
out
was getting
there.
ready to say that's Doctor Who.
That is
isn't it?
Doctor Who. I wonder if I could find a little clip of it. Let me see real quick. You keep talking, and maybe we can give people a tiny clip.
Have you heard "Please Daddy" by John Denver?
Yes.
It's like, "Please Daddy, don't get drunk this Christmas."
Yeah.
That's such a sad song.
Yeah.
And the fact that was put out.
Yeah.
Then Lady Gaga has one called Christmas Tree that features Space Cowboy.
Okay.
It's kind of quirky.
Oh, okay. I found it as
Okay.
you were hearing in your headphones right there. I found it. Obviously, I'm not going to give them the whole 2-minute song, but I will give you all a little segment right here. Here is I'm Gonna Spend My Christmas with a Dalek by the Go-Go's.
I bring you greetings from all Daleks.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek.
There's I'm Gonna Spend My Christmas with a Dalek for you.
It's a bop.
It's something.
Did you know Weird Al Yankovic has a Christmas song?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
He might have more than one, but
probably. But on this list, it's called Christmas at Ground Zero,
or
which I
gotta-
bet it's something with atomic warfare.
I just Googled it, and yep, it's Christmas at Ground Zero. There's music in the air. The sleigh bells are ringing, and the carolers are singing while the air raids sirens blare.
Oh,
It's Christmas
Lord.
at Ground Zero. The button has been pressed. The radio just let us know that this is not a test. Everywhere the atom bombs are dropping, it's the end of all humanity.
Oh my gosh.
He's got some dark humor. That's Weird Al for you. You got any more for me?
Brenda Lee apparently had one that's called I'm Gonna Lasso Santa Claus.
Okay. I know one by what's his name? Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett has one called what's it called? Santa Stole Thanksgiving. What do you want me to do with that?
Oh, I was just gonna let you see it.
Oh, okay.
Clarence Carter
Yeah.
has one
Called
called Backdoor Santa.
I don't know. We may be over assuming there what that
Do you want to look it up?
is. Sure.
Because unless that meant something completely different back when that was written.
It means that he sneaks in the back door. Like he comes in, he sneaks in the back door. He's the backdoor Santa, as in the girls call him when the boys are out, type of thing. That's what that is. All right, Hannah,
I'm just
we're
kidding.
a family friendly production here.
That Backdoor Santa, man.
All right, okay. Well, I'm gonna now talking about family friendly. How about I read this terrifying Yule Cat story
do
to
it.
wrap it up? All right. They say it's a legend, just a story we tell to scare children, but I'm here to tell you not to believe a word of it. You would do well to beware the Yule Cat, no matter what they say. My cousins and I grew up in the Icelandic countryside and spent most of our lives within a stone's throw of our birthplace. For 2 weeks in December, my saintly grandmother would welcome us into her home so my parents could go Christmas shopping or have some time to themselves. She invited all my cousins as well, a brood of 8 when we were all assembled, and many nights after Granddad had made excuses for going off to the pub, Grandma would gather us around the fire to tell us stories about fairies, Queen Mabe, and her ilk, and of all the elves and darker things that had once been a part of this landscape. She told us stories of Icelandic heroes and filled our dreams with monsters that begged to be slain as we took on our favorite champion's role. But especially around the Christmas season, her favorite story was of Jolachturin, or the Yule Cat. He's a giant creature capable of stepping over palisades and creeping into tall buildings. He punishes the lazy and rewards those who work hard and do their work year-round. If you neglect your duties, the Jolachturin will find your children, never doubt. His favorite meal is children without new clothes in winter, their parents having spent their summers at leisure. Thankless children he hates as well, those who scorn their parents' work in favor of frivolous things. So be thankful, my children, that your parents work hard to keep such dark things away. Most of her stories about the Yule Cat involved naughty children who went into the woods at night, spoiled children whose parents found that the Yule Cat had dragged them out through their window and gobbled them up, and good children who went rushing home on Christmas Eve to get their clothing gifts before the Yule Cat could get them. My little brother, Sven, always held a deep fear of the Yule Cat, but I can honestly never remember a time when I was afraid of it. It always seemed goofy to me, and in my head, I just imagined a cat with giant legs that looked like big noodles. Its body was way high in the air, and its legs just wiggled around beneath it. I had drawn a picture of it for my grandmother once, and she had only smiled and ruffled my hair. "Let us hope that if the Jolachturin finds you, he is just as silly as you think." I had smiled about the idea of meeting the Yule Cat then, thinking of all the monsters and beasts my cousins and I had slain in our dreams. I am not smiling as I write this. I came to live with my grandparents when I was 15. My mother and father had been killed in a car accident when a semi-truck slid on the ice and hit them head on. They say they died instantly, but all I knew was that Sven and I were suddenly without our parents. There was never any question where we would go, of course. My grandmother opened her home to us without a second thought, and with Grandpa 3 years in his grave, she said it would be nice to have some company. I lived with her until I was 23, attending university and getting my degree so I could begin a career in architecture, and then taking up residence in my parents' old home so I could maintain the family homestead. The house was on my grandparents' land, so it wasn't as though we had never been back. Sven didn't like to go back to our old home, claiming there were too many memories there, and my grandmother sheltered him quite a bit. When I moved back, I invited him to come live with me, but he declined. He was 17 and showed none of my drive. I was worried that if he stayed, my grandmother would coddle him forever, but that was his decision. I decorated my old home like it was my first Christmas, the lights and decorations still in the crawl space as they had always been, and my house had shone out against the darkness like a beacon. My tree stood in full view in the window, and I had bought presents for everyone. I had spent much of my life without much money, and now that I had a lucrative job, I decided to take advantage of the holiday season and spoil my relatives a bit. I was sitting snug by the fire, a cup of spiced hot chocolate in my hand and a slight buzz, when my phone rang. My grandmother's smiling picture showed from the home screen, and I picked it up as I tried to compose my voice. Grandma was used to people being a little drunk. My granddad had been pickled more than sober during his life. But I was immediately at that age where I was self-conscious about her seeing me like that. I answered the phone, and she immediately started in without greeting. "Karin, you have not come by to get your Yule clothes. You will need to come back now." I wasn't used to my grandmother being so forceful. She was usually very mild, but she seemed upset about this to an irrational level. Tomorrow was Christmas Day when all of my cousins and their families gathered for presents and Grandma's usual Christmas feast. What Grandma was referring to was her tradition of giving us clothes to, quote, keep the Yule Cat away. This was my first Christmas away from home. I usually got them from Grandma when I woke up on the 23rd, but I guess I had missed it since I had moved out. "Oh, that's okay, Gran. I'll just get them tomorrow. I'll be there with the others, and you can give them to me." "No, you must come get them now, and hurry. I need you here before the sun goes down, or the Yule Cat will get you." I rolled my eyes. "Gran, I think the Yule Cat will understand if I don't go out in the snow to get clothes. Can I just come by tomorrow?" Her voice went from a severe matriarch to a pleading older woman in the blink of an eye. "Karin, please, it is your first time away from home, and I want you to be safe. I can leave them on the porch if you don't have time to come in, but please come and get them, please." She sounded so scared that I couldn't disagree. I told her I would get dressed and drive over before sunset, and she sighed in relief and thanked me. I dressed warmly in my snow pants and a heavy coat. My muffler and gloves came on next, and along with a pair of snow boots and a flashlight just in case. All of this went on whatever I was already wearing, jeans and a t-shirt and thick socks, and stepped out into the ankle-deep snow. I put a hand on my old Jeep and decided against it. My head was a little sloshy, and I knew it would only take a few minutes with the heat blasting before I'd be asleep and sliding on the icy road. Instead, I decided to walk. My grandmother's house was only about 2 miles from mine, and the bracing cold would sober me up a bit. I set off towards the woods that separated her house from mine. Every time I walk those familiar trails, I always feel like I should be scattering breadcrumbs behind me. My grandmother's house lies sheltered in the woods, and they always feel so dense and foreboding whenever I have to walk through them. The snow and the cold made them quiet. The birds having left and many of the animals asleep for the winter, but the tracks told me that there were indeed things out here. My legs started to get tired almost at once. If you never had to slog through deep snow, then I can tell you that it isn't much fun. The sun was going down, and I began to regret not taking the truck. I could hear the snow making the trees crack and sag, and now and again there was a scurry of movement as some small creatures. Other than the occasional noise, it was as though I had the forest to myself, and my loud footsteps made me feel like the last person on earth. When I heard the snow crunch nearby, I swung to see what was there. The sound had startled me. My own feet were the only thing making much noise out there, but I found nothing there that could have made the noise. By the sound of the crunch, I would have thought it was a reindeer or maybe a clumsy squirrel who had fallen from a tree. In the dim light, I couldn't even see if there were prints. As I started slogging a little faster, worried it might be a wolf or something, the crunching came again, but I shrugged it off as my mind playing tricks. When it crunched again, closer this time, I started moving even faster. Going too fast would be a great way to break an ankle or fall and impale myself on a tree limb, but the crunching and lack of a source was starting to freak me out. The snowing sky was already overcast, and the sun was setting behind them. The thought of being out here after dark made my skin crawl, and the thought of getting lost in a stretch of woods that would become nearly unnavigable once the sun went down made me quicken my pace again. My footsteps were loud, cutting through the silence like a foghorn, but somehow I could still hear the steps behind me as I nearly jogged through the ankle-deep snow. What I thought had been a reindeer or a wolf now sounded like something much larger. It was very rare, but polar bears sometimes got stuck on ice floes and found their way here. I had seen something about it online, I thought, and I could just see a big hungry polar bear loping behind me as it prepared to get a quick meal out of me. I didn't dare look back as I heard the crunch come down not 8 feet behind me. It hit the ground hard enough to dislodge snow from the trees, and I started booking it as best I could. What the heck was it? Iceland didn't have a lot of large predators, none that came this close to settled areas, and my mind began to travel back to a time when I was young and sitting around a warm fire with my grandmother. My cousins and I always loved the stories of trolls and elves, great heroes who slew the former and were aided by the latter, and we always took up sticks when we played and pretended to swing mighty swords at the knees of ugly, hulking trolls. The idea of being devoured by a large, slavering troll, my mind showing me the one from Harry Potter, seemed less fun now that I was being chased by one in a fairy tale forest. I glanced behind me in a blind panic, not wanting to see but wanting to know nonetheless, and felt my boots sink into a hole. I went down face first in the snow and nearly head first into a tree and rolled over to face whatever was now surely going to get me. My ancestors had been the men who settled this land, men who rode onto these shores in boats with axes and tamed the wilderness, and I would be danged if I would die with my head in the snow like a blubbering baby. What I saw looming over me was no troll. What I saw looming over me was much worse. When I had drawn him, I made his legs long and wavy like noodles. I had drawn him with a tabby cat coat and a big pair of friendly yellow eyes. He had been given the Cheshire Cat's grin and a pair of pointy ears that made him look a little like Batman. It looked friendly, goofy, something a child couldn't possibly be afraid of. The Yule Cat, for that, was the only thing it could be. And it was none of those things. His coat was black as twice-baked charcoal, and his bones and muscles seemed to shift beneath it like there might be something living just under its skin. Its legs were long and powerful like a panther or a jaguar, and its paws left tracks as big as hubcaps with claws like stilettos. His mouth was filled with 2 big teeth, and the tips seemed to poke at its lips painfully as its slaver ran pink. Its ears had been mostly chewed off, sitting on its head like rounded nubs that barely seemed big enough to be ears at all. Its eyes, though, were the worst. Its yellow eyes blazed like torches, their centers crackling red, and when it loosed a long, loud yowl, I felt my snow pants fill with pee. I was saved by dumb luck. Its yowl had loosed some snow from the tree over my head, and when it fell, it coated the Yule Cat's face in a cold blanket of surprise. I rolled away, and when I did, the beast lunged at me and ran smack into the tree I had nearly fallen into. It yowled again angrily, and its claws sounded as if they were shredding the tree to pieces. I couldn't tell you if they did or didn't. I was running through the snow like a reindeer, churning it up as my fear gave gave me a new purpose. I could see the smoke from my grandma's chimney, but I knew I had to be another quarter mile from the house. The shadows were gathering, and I knew I was dead as soon as this thing got its bearings. When it came after me, I realized it had been playing with me before. The crunching steps sounded dinosauric, and it cleared the distance between us easily. It swiped at me as I ran, and the claws slid through my thick jacket easily. My back suddenly felt cold as the goose down spilled out of it, and I began to realize I was running on borrowed time. I had to find some way to lose it. I had to find some way to use its size against it. I had needed a place to hide and catch my breath, my lungs burning and my head swimming with exertion. Then, when I passed the Himmeltray and realized where it was. When we were children, there was a tall tree that we used as a landmark, and we called it the Himmeltray, the sky tree, because it always seemed like it soared above into the clouds. My older cousins and I had hiked to the tree once, nearly a quarter mile into the woods, and found the tree lived up to its name. It was massive, 60 feet of wood like iron, and beneath it was a series of roots that looked like a cage. The soil pulled away from them, and as kids, we would crawl beneath the tree and camp in a relative comfort. The spot was large enough for children, but would be snug for me. I was hoping that it would be too snug for this hellcat as well. I booked it, running flat out as the tree soured up to greet me. I jumped over a sprawl of fallen trees, something I remembered from childhood, and prayed that maybe the cat wouldn't be so lucky. When I heard him hiss and stumble a moment later, I knew that luck was with me. I didn't look to see how badly he had spilled. I fell into my belly and prayed that I had the angle right as I slid between the roots of the huge tree. I thumped my shoulder, the tough roots hurting as I hit them, but I made it mostly under as the cat scrambled after me. I winced as his claws caught my leg, ripping through my snow pants and jeans to sink into its meat, but I shook him off before he could pull me, and was soon snug beneath the wood canopy of this whole huge old tree. The underside was just as I remembered. It was damp from snow run, but the frozen snow had mostly covered it, so I was left in a crystalline world domed by white. The cat screamed in agony, shooting a paw between the roots and searching for me in frustration. I huddled against the side of the tree, not wanting to get caught. The scrambling went on for what seemed like hours until finally the cat removed its sooty paw, and I heard it crunching off into the forest. I stayed still, fearing some trick, but it went right on moving until its heavy footsteps were only slight crunches in the distance. I stayed put, though, blowing on my hands as my wet pants and bleeding leg began to make me shiver. I'd freeze to death out here if I stayed too long, but I was afraid that the Yule Cat might double back and wait for me to leave. I shivered for as long as I could, feeling the temperature drop as the sun crept closer to down, and finally I decided I'd rather be eaten than freeze to death. I crawled out, and when I wasn't immediately set upon, I started stumbling towards my grandmother's house. She was waiting in the doorway for me, a mug of spice cider in her hand and a concerned grimace for my many injuries. "He found you out there, didn't he?" It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. I've been sitting by the fire and letting her feed me and nurse me for the last few hours. She bandaged my leg and took my shredded clothes away. She set a plate of food in front of me, and when I finished the spice cider, she brought me tea and told me to rest. Before she went back to her room to sleep, she dropped a package in my lap. It was a new sheepskin coat, lovely to see and soft to touch. I couldn't imagine what it had cost her, though I knew what it had almost cost me. "He won't bother you now," she said, and made her way to bed as I sat convulsing by the fire. So heed your elders when they tell you the old stories. I was lucky, but you can't always count on luck. The Yule Cat still lurks in the hills and woods, searching for those he deems ungrateful and underdressed. Don't take the clothes you get for Christmas so lightly, because they could save your life if you find yourself in the sights of the Yule Cat.
Ooh.
There we go. That's pretty good. That was pretty well written.
Yeah, that was pretty well written.
The tale of someone who faced the Yule Cat. And you know what, Hannah?
What?
That'll do it.
Yep.
For another episode of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah
and Noah. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget about the Patreon in the show notes. Join in, be a part of the giveaway. We will have exclusive content on there as we make it and stuff like that. We're going to make it worth your while being on there. So join that. Also, share with your friends. Review us 5 stars if you enjoyed it. And if they don't enjoy it, what do, Hannah?
They just keep scrolling.
That's right. Ignore it, move along, and share it with a friend you might think who likes it. Anyway, Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A Little Off the Top. Bye-bye.